We haven't talked about the Philadelphia Eagles in quite some time because nothing's really happening there except stuff that you're totally shocked by, Colin. Reports are now indicating Philly has promoted their pass game coordinator, a gentleman by the name of Parks Frazier. He has been upgraded to quarterback's coach, replacing a veteran who had 20 years of experience. Why does this matter? Well, one Eagles writer said Frazier has never been in charge of a position group in his NFL coaching career over 9 seasons. That's like having some guy in the building for 9 seasons and like pretty much never promoting him to a position group leader. And now he's going to be alongside Jalen Hurts.
Like, we always try to project on this show, for the benefit of the audience and ourselves, bad teams that will suddenly get really good. Last year we picked New England. We got that right. There's also always, without question, a great team that falls off the cliff. Washington was that team this year. Kansas City was that team. There were 2 teams that we thought, their Super Bowl bubble last year, and they were bad. Doesn't it feel like this thing in Philadelphia, if it unraveled by late October, just completely unraveled, you wouldn't be shocked?
Let's start with some historical context that seems to be conveniently overlooked in the current discourse. You literally predicted that the Philadelphia Eagles would fire Nick Sirianni by Thanksgiving of 2024 and replace him with Bill Belichick. That was an actual take. Additionally, Colin also proclaimed that the Kansas City Chiefs were the best team in the NFL. In his hierarchy, across all his rankings, even after they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, he stood by it. He said, "They're the best team in the NFL. They are by far the best team in the NFL. I don't even think it's close. They're better than everyone else by a touchdown." And now, in this current conversation, we're going to use the Washington Commanders as a reference point. We're going to use the Washington Commanders as a benchmark for evaluating the Philadelphia Eagles. This is where we need to pump the brakes and really understand how organizational decisions get made and what they actually signify for each individual franchise. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you know who the quarterback coach is for Sean McVay? How about for Kyle Shanahan or for Andy Reid? Name them right now. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yeah, that's right. You can't. You simply cannot name them. And that's precisely the point. The Eagles hired Sean Mannion to be their true offensive voice and quarterback coach. This is the massive selling point of who Mannion is as a coach. You don't just employ a quarterback coach for the sake of having a body in that position. The way this narrative is unfolding right now reminds me of conversations I've had about offensive head coaches. When you have an offensive head coach like Sean McVay, your offensive coordinator is really just an extension of who you are. The coordinator's primary function is to execute the vision of Sean McVay. Maybe he's more involved in running practices and drills and handling various responsibilities throughout the course of an entire calendar year, not just during the season, but also focusing on specific aspects and bringing certain issues to the head coach's attention. If you're the coordinator for Sean McVay, you might say, "Hey, I've noticed this is becoming a problem." And McVay responds, "Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Now I'll handle it." Alternatively, McVay might approach his coordinator and say, "Based on what we've been studying, I'm thinking about this game plan. I want to emphasize the running game heavily in this matchup. What are your thoughts, Mike? What do you think, Joe?" The coordinator is there to provide input, but ultimately, he's not there to execute his own vision of an offense. He's there to support and enhance the head coach's vision. This is precisely why the Eagles went out and got Sean Mannion. He represents that same nucleus that Kevin O'Connell provides in Minnesota, that Sean McVay provides in Los Angeles. He is the offensive engine that the Eagles are building around. So yes, they now have this young quarterback coach, rather than someone with 20-plus seasons of experience who brings his own fully formed vision of how an offense should operate. This is why you don't hire a Sean McVay and then bring in a 55-year-old offensive coordinator who has his own established philosophy about running an offense. That 55-year-old coordinator wouldn't even want that job unless he's simply trying to collect a paycheck and hang around the league a little longer. Which, don't get me wrong, I can't blame anyone for wanting to secure that bag and keep that income flowing. But that's not what the Eagles are trying to accomplish. The hire reflects their actual philosophy. Now let's be clear about something. Quarterback coaches matter tremendously. They absolutely do. And I believe Kellen Moore took the Eagles' quarterback coach with him to the New Orleans Saints and made him the offensive coordinator because it's still all an extension of Kellen Moore's offensive philosophy. Do you understand what I'm saying? The same principle applies here, but now we're twisting this story. Suddenly it's, oh, they hired a quarterback coach who's never been in charge before. First off, it's just so absurd. And I want to be clear because everyone has become so obsessed with internal hires lately. There's this emerging feeling that internal promotions are inherently bad, especially after how things played out with someone like Kevin Porter Jr. in certain contexts. But I addressed this in a Seahawks video recently. It's about hiring the best person for the job, period. Ben Johnson was an internal hire. Joe Brady was an internal hire. It's always about identifying the best man for the role. The Eagles hired Mannion last season in 2025. It's not like he's been a coach with the organization for the last 10 years and they suddenly decided to promote him arbitrarily. This was someone they brought in last season, obviously saw something they liked in terms of what he brings to the table, and then elevated him to quarterback's coach. In this specific situation, he's going to function as an extension of Sean Mannion's offensive vision, just as it was with Doug Peterson and Kellen Moore back in the day. That's precisely why Kellen Moore decided to take that extension with him as his offensive coordinator and also had him in Los Angeles, because Kellen Moore is very much quarterback-centric in his approach, in a way that perhaps someone like Ben Johnson or Mike McDaniel isn't as focused on. Kevin O'Connell, on the other hand, definitely is. These are coordinators who also played quarterback at some level. They were actual legitimate quarterbacks, which brings me to an important point. I don't know if you're aware of this, but that's exactly who Sean Mannion is. And let me emphasize something crucial. It's not about how great of a quarterback you were. I cannot stress this enough. It has absolutely nothing to do with your playing ability or your statistics. Look at Sean McVay. Look at Kevin O'Connell. Look at Andy Reid. None of these guys were phenomenal players. None of them had illustrious NFL careers. That's why I always laugh when people mock Dan Orlovsky with comments like, "What do you know? You ran out of the back of the end zone." It's like, okay, whatever you say. That line of criticism completely misses the point. So we're talking about someone who actually played quarterback for years, mind you, and has since accumulated coaching experience. He served as the quarterback's coach in 2025 with the Green Bay Packers. He's going to want his vision executed with this offense, and he'll work especially closely with the quarterback's coach in that regard, because he's the offensive coordinator. He's not the head coach who then needs an extension of himself to serve as offensive coordinator. He is the offensive coach who runs the entire offense because of Nick Sirianni's specific role within the organization. And now, in terms of developing and maximizing Jalen Hurts, his quarterback's coach functions as his direct extension. Do you understand what I'm trying to map out here? The way this is being phrased in the media, internal hire for new quarterback's coach, a bold decision, is missing the structural reality. Is it really that bold? Let me ask you. Name 5 other quarterback coaches currently in the NFL right now. Go ahead. Name them. I'm waiting. I guarantee you that the vast majority of people, including dedicated Eagles fans, couldn't even tell you who the quarterback's coach was last season when they won the Super Bowl. I guarantee it. The vast majority of people did not know who Brock Purdy's quarterback's coach was when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. Who is Justin Herbert's quarterback's coach this year? Last year? You don't know. Who was Josh Allen's quarterback's coach? Tell me. Tell me right now. I'm waiting. Who did Joe Brady just hire as the quarterback's coach in Buffalo? Is it the same person as last year? Tell me. You don't know. And please don't look it up and then comment pretending you knew all along. Oh, of course it's so-and-so. You don't know. Be honest. Who did Ben Johnson hire for Caleb Williams as quarterback's coach? He brought someone with him from Detroit. What's his name? What did he do before? What was his role with the Lions? What's his resume? What's his background? I love when I get proven correct through simple research. He was an offensive assistant in 2022. He was a Detroit Lions assistant quarterback's coach. Ben Johnson took him to Chicago and made him the quarterback's coach. He was never a position coach before. He was never in charge of a position group. He's 31 years old. I love when I'm right. It feels good. It genuinely does. It feels good when I have an idea of what I think is correct. I go verify it and discover, oh yeah, I was right. It's pretty cool. Doesn't happen all the time. I'm not a super genius. I don't get everything right. People sometimes ask me about my content focus, and I'll end with this. There's always that false comment when people say, you know, you always talk about the Eagles. What is it with you and the Eagles? And it's like, I talk about all the teams. But the Eagles' content, the conversations that come from discussing this franchise, it's low-hanging fruit in some ways. But here's the thing. A lot of times, low-hanging fruit can be boring and uninteresting. Will Patrick Mahomes bounce back next year? Yeah, probably. That's the most generic conversation you can possibly have. It really is. It's the most generic, predictable discussion imaginable. But so much of the low-hanging fruit for the Philadelphia Eagles is still absolute box office. The Commanders fell off a cliff. Well, Jaden Daniels was injured essentially the whole season, and they went out and got Deebo Samuel, who's like 45 in football years, and their tight end is Zach Ertz, who won a Super Bowl a decade ago and is hanging on by a thread, who also unfortunately got hurt. I mean, they had Marcus Mariota as their backup quarterback. That's the reference point we're going to use? That's the benchmark for evaluating the Eagles? Bart Simpson said it best. I kumba. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and this internal hire? Internal hire. I like the way that sounds. A bold decision. According to some Eagles writer, what writer? What's his name? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates and disagreements. But ultimately, let's just have some fun with it. And please do consider subscribing to the channel. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you be a part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're well on our way to accomplishing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.